3. North of Stevens Point, Seymour Wissota has converted a corrugated grain storage bin into a cozy cabin with wood floors and a pot-belly stove, well-insulated walls inside ancient steel. A laundry line stretches from the side of the house to a T-pole in the yard. Flower pots have been stacked by the outside spigot. Behind a rusted early-model Aero wagon, weeds threaten to swallow a leaning shed. Besides road ruts, these are the only signs of intelligent life. Seymour's chosen to live in rustic farmland sprawl, his favored status denoted by his domestic accommodations, an industrial power box converter visible through the window, a small 3D printer tucked in beside the oven, an aging triage drone seated on its charging station, things of considerable expense procured and put to use for the benefit of a single captain of industry, a former soldier turned private sector flunky turned strategic executive. A moped, he asks. We're frugal, Cosmas says. Gotta spend money to make money. Not anymore. It's fun to say though, isn't it? Cosmas swings down the kickstand and steps from the scooter. Lifting the seat, he retrieves his bag from the storage compartment, nodding as he walks the stone path to the steps. Alan's briefing, significant observations and biometric data provided by Nicola, Seymour's AI shard, includes notes of manic episodes, a late-night bank-climbing incident, a sword-fighting challenge at a lumberjack festival, common out-of-character skylarkings for an uninhibited mind. Cosmas brushes off his duster, a palm to the familiar bump of his holstered pepper spray cannon, a single saturated chloroform towelette waiting in his wristband dispenser. Contingencies. Just in case. Thank goodness Seymour can't hear the things Alan says, he thinks. The rambunctious tendencies of regressing patients have long since led to the adoption of less-than-lethal protocols, but with the rural setting and the decided lack of a law enforcement presence, Cosmas realizes he's Exhibit A. Should things get interesting, should Mr. Wissota mistake him for a rival, looking to settle a score with a saber or pistols or a cattle prod, weirder things, Cosmas knows, have happened. Normal pulse rate, normal rate of breathing, Alan says. Slight constipation. You almost got tuned up by the crane collapse, Seymour says. I had a center stage view, Cosmas says. It'd taken off from Og Tower. I was surprised the Hyperloop didn't shut down. Seymour smiles and scratches himself through his red union suit, waving Cosmas inside. Did you have a moment for tea? I can't turn down a connoisseur, an enthusiast. Zigzag scars behind an ear denote the former presence of industrial remote controller hardware. Moonlighting, perhaps, as a drone operator, remote demolitions, phantoms they'd been called. The age of human versus human, aided by deadly toys. Seymour slides off his slippers and leaves them on the entryway rug. His eyes, dilated despite the bright, clear day, broadcast the euphoria common to the final stage of treatments, pupils shining, radiating relief from decades of routine, the loose, confident steps of a man with a zest for life. He slides to the shelves above the spice rack, fingers trailing, the quiver of a musician anticipating a performance, the playfulness of a shaggy physicist preparing to blow minds with the results of experimental field-expanding research, a colorful light show. Side note, I've abandoned a morning alarm, Seymour says. 152 years at Glacial spread across 4 centuries, working my way from controller to overseer, topping out with 50,000 people under me, every morning a beeping alarm, efficiency parsed down to the second. Your mood seems considerably improved, much more so than our last visit, Cosmas says. You have no idea. Prior to treatment, you had significant concerns about your neighbor's desire to raise pigs on the acreage that borders your property. Outside the window, a cardinal lands on the laundry line. Cosmos has never had to use the chloroform towelette in his wristband and doubts his ability to easily overpower Mr. Wasoda, should the need arise. In case of emergency, aim for the head, he remembers. The silence of the countryside comes with its own ageless zeal. In the absence of location-based advertising, Cosmos' world feels open, spaces a person could fall into, a yawning fluidity, the curtain-framed view of the dirt road standing like a still image from a simpler time, a post-war experience that, despite its demons, maintains a stronger sense of true community, a reality in which hope plays an active role. In the absence of genuine struggle, humans wither, Cosmos thinks. Ada Halfmoon has requested her original appointment time, Alan says. I suppose you'll tell me the intensity of my long-standing relationships is lessening as the connections untether, Seymour says, as a return to the hubris of youth. I wouldn't say anything of the kind. But you'd think it, and you'd be right. Rows of matching teacups hang, handles from hooks beneath the kitchen cabinets, clinking lightly as Seymour fills a brass tea kettle and switches on the oven's coil burner. I may need to push on after I take a few readings, Cosmos says. They're good at keeping us busy, aren't they? Seymour says. They? Seymour shakes green tea from a tin box. He drops a mesh bag into the kettle. I've long been a fan of herbal nootropics, he says. Kitchen countertops hug the walls, the room's open floor design broken only by a central spiral staircase rising through the ceiling and a breakfast nook that frames a window. A power mixer, an espresso machine, relics, cast iron pans crowd trays of thinly seeded wheatgrass, knives hang from a wall magnet. Paper-wrapped meat sits thawing on a butcher's block. There's been a change in the service request, Alan says. A significant fluid sample will be necessary for hematological tests. Nothing like changing a horse midstream, Cosmos says. The stove burner glows orange. Vapor dances above bubbling water. Seymour folds his hands and rests his index fingers under his chin. I'd like to think of my lifestyle's transitions as gradual, he says. Would you mind a blood draw? Wrinkles on the union suit smoothing, Seymour leans back, his brow relaxing, shifting from unsure, slightly knit, furrowed even, to the squinty nod of a bemused referee acknowledging solid professional play. So long as we're done before noon, Seymour says. Hot lunch date, former MMA fighter. It won't take long. Travel bag open, Cosmos screws his largest sample tube into the analyzer and unstraps the arm sleeve. Seymour's vitals present as shared data between the AIs: blood pressure 110/70, brainwaves cycling within the calm range, a fair buildup of stool in the bowels awaits evacuation. Have you read about the smooth brains of koalas? Seymour asks. Not specifically, Cosmos says. Alan makes a throat-clearing sound. Patient has recently spent significant amounts of time researching the brain architecture of extinct marsupials, he says. Patient also devotes several hours daily to social media dating channels. Cosmos slides the sleeve onto Seymour's arm and tightens the bands. The green light turns yellow, blinking as the analyzer fills the sample tube, a red line rising. Alan's factoid windows hang in the air like playing cards, the details of a man's life waiting to be dropped into groups, stored in memory, ongoing surveillance by law enforcement following Seymour's interest in anti-oligarchy meetings during the early part of the last century, monitoring leading to paranoia, resulting in court-ordered prescriptions for antipsychotic medications, followed by decades of functional alcoholism during a lucrative career with Glacial, a long rebuilding period and a series of therapies 5 years ago to correct cellular decline, more recently, a set of pruning treatments unlocking long-repressed emotions. The AIs watching him like hawks, squawking back and forth across secure channels. Silent gossip. Nobody likes feeling talked about. Everybody gets talked about. If you took a eucalyptus leaf and put it on a plate, a koala wouldn't even recognize the plant it spent its entire life eating, Seymour says. We'd like to believe we're folding our minds like samurai swords, razor sharp. My mind's more like bean curd, Cosmos says. Steam rolls from the kettle's spout and Seymour switches off the burner. Have you ever been to the Apostle Islands? He asks. The analyzer light flashes green. Coils relax. The sleeve slips down, a pinprick dot where the needle tapped a vein. You've been on 18 trips to the North Shore, Alan says, 3 of which involve remote locations in Lake Superior. Cosmos pops the newly sealed sample tube from the port. Madeline Island had a town on it, I remember, he says. We took a ferry out to a campsite at the edge of a gorgeous beach. We had the place to ourselves. Superior's like swimming in fire hydrant water. Lab results slide left to right. Platelet count, iodine levels, hormone and enzyme grids. Actuarial analytics scroll across a chyron. 97.2% chance of positive mental health improvement as sectors reestablish themselves via hobbies and interests. 81.4% chance of an act of physical violence within the next 36 hours. 11.3% chance subject will experience spontaneous defecation during the next 30 minutes, in which case a 12.1% chance exists that such an event will result in violence. Biomarkers fall within the normal range, Alan says. Slight iron imbalance, temporary delusions, and likely self-diagnosis of a low-level neurocognitive disorder, a positive prognosis. A breeze stirs the drapes. Seymour pours a long, thin stream into each teacup. Cosmos labels the sample, dropping it into a medical transport pouch. He secures the analyzer and shuts the bag clasps. The preliminary report suggests you're slightly anemic, but otherwise in good health, he says. Above all else, make sure to get plenty of rest. He breathes in the tea's bittersweet aroma and its hints of mango. He sips, rolling the yellow liquid around with his tongue, dim memories surfacing of a fine china social event, a white glove affair, Constance bending to fix their son's uneven collar, a memory that dissipates as he swallows. They were at a party, some kind of celebration. If we are the koalas, he thinks, what are the incomprehensible leaves?